Hi, everyone. My name is Greg, and welcome back to the podcast, My First Season. In this podcast, I interview travel writers and people who work for resorts, hotels, cruise ships, and airlines, and we'll talk about their experience in travel and tourism. My guest today and I have never worked together. I met him, of course, where else but on Facebook, and we have a lot of mutual friends in common, I see. His first season was at Sandpiper in 1990, summer of 1990, as an animator. You probably all know him from Circus, but I'll let you tell him his interesting way into Club Med. Everyone, please help me welcome Mr. Carlos. Carlos, brother, how are you, sir?
I'm doing just fine, Okay. How about yourself?
Good. Thanks for agreeing to come on the show. I see we have a mutual friend in common with Rick Ross. So clearly, I guess we need more friends, right? I'm just kidding. We love you, Rick. We love you, Rick. I know he's going to be listening to this, so I don't want to get any angry letters from him. Okay. Oh yeah. So I guess you know how this works. We're here to talk uniquely about your first season. We'll talk about others as well. So I hear you have a very interesting backstory. So I was wondering if you could take me back in time to 1990. Where were you living? What were you doing for work? And how the heck did you find out about Club Med?
Back in the old time machine. Years ago, I used to be a clown and acrobat on Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Okay, can I stop you there? Okay. How the heck did you get into that? Like, what's the process to get into Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey? Like, how old were you when you wanted to do this? You got to tell me that.
That's a whole nother story in and of itself. Well,
can you shorten it a little? Just what
sure, I'll make it really brief. I had never wanted to be in the circus.
Okay.
I actually had scholarships to go to college for theater. That's what I wanted to do. But my senior year in high school, I was in my law class, and a friend of mine had gone to see the Ringling Brothers show. She brought in the program from the school, and as she was sitting down at her desk right next to mine, the program fell out onto the floor. And I said, "Hey, can I take a look at that?" She said, "Sure." So I was just thumbing through, looking at all the pictures, thinking, "Oh, these are really cool pictures." And I saw a postcard from their clown college thing. I had no idea what it was. And I used to love watching Laurel and Hardy and Buster Keaton movies, but that was it. I always loved making people laugh. That was fun as well. So I copied down the address and wrote a letter back when we used to write letters. And I said, "Hey, what is this about? I want some information." So they sent me some information and an application. Well, as a joke, I filled it out because, I had no skills. I didn't know how to do anything. And so I sent it in as a bigger joke. They accepted me. And really? So I got a phone call one day saying, "Hey," they're asking me questions about my application, which I thought was pretty standard. I was like, yeah. I see you missed the auditions. Like, well, the auditions were in New York. I'm living in Rhode Island. I missed them by 2 weeks because I didn't really know about this. The guy's like, "Oh, that's okay. But, we'll teach you everything you need to know. So we look forward to meeting you." I was like, "Wait, you look forward to meeting me? Does that mean I got in?" He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, congratulations. You've been accepted to the 1987 class of Clown College." It's like, "What?" But he's like, "When's this start?" He's like, "Oh, in 3 weeks." What? So I had to spend a week and a half convincing my parents to let me go instead of going to college. And they begrudgingly let me go. And
so
then
you left the real college to go to clown colleges, basically.
No, I hadn't even started college yet. This was in the summer. It was I literally just graduated high school, and I forgot about this thing. I got the phone call on a Saturday. And so my parents were like, "No, you're going to college." I said, "Well, wait, this thing is only like 2.5 months of training in the summertime. There's no way I'm going to get into the circus. I'll just go down and do this for the summer, come back, go to college." And at almost at 0 hour, they agreed to let me do it. I went down, stood there with a bunch of people who had known about this stuff for years. These were magicians or jugglers, or they were all clowns, or they all knew about this stuff. I was like the only one there, like, "I just found out about this a couple months ago." So I figured they made a mistake. Like they were going to be like, "Hey, wrong guy, wrong Carlos." But no. And I busted my butt and worked really hard and was fortunate enough to get offered a contract at the end of that and ended up joining the circus. So I went from graduating high school in June. By September, I was living on a circus train and traveling the country as a clown and acrobat on Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Wow. Okay, yeah, no, that's a really original story. Okay.
So I didn't choose Circus. Circus chose me. And then from there, I was on the road with a guy named Max. When he left the road, I don't know how he knew about Club Med because I had never heard about this place before, but he'd gone on to Club Med and was working as an animator. And he came back to visit us on the road and said, "Hey, guys, if you ever leave the circus, call this number. This is a great job. They'll pay you to dress up in costumes and run around a resort." I was like, "All right." So I copied the number down and, kept it for months on end because I had no plans of leaving the circus anytime soon. But then when I finally did, I was at home in Rhode Island, emptying out my bags, all my boxes, and found a number that said Club Med John Shelley. It's like, let me call this place. And I called the guy up, said, yeah, we're doing interviews like next week. Can you come down to New York? I'm like, sure. So I hopped on a train, went down to New York for the interview. And they go around the table asking everyone, like, what's your experience? Why do you think it'd be a good fit for Club Med? And people are like, well, I taught tennis, or, I'm an aerobics instructor, or someone's like, I ride horses. And John pointed at me and said, well, what can you do? I said, well, I was a clown in the circus. I just left the road about 3 months ago. He's like, oh, really? Oh. So at the end of the interview, everyone walks out and they're leaving, and John grabs him by the shoulder and says, hey, we have an immediate opening as an animator in Sandpiper Bay, Florida. Can you be down there next week? And I was like, well, sir, I didn't tell my parents I'm in New York. So can you give me 2 weeks? He's like, we'll give you 2 weeks. So I took the train back up to Rhode Island and said, hey, folks, I got another job. Like, where? Florida, Club Med. Like, what's that? So I had to explain it to them what I was doing. And that was it. Packed my bags and headed to Florida.
Wow. Okay. Wait a minute. So I'm guessing you never went to a Club Med before on vacation, or
never. I never heard of clown college.
Okay.
I joined the circus, and I'd never heard of Club Med before either. I didn't. We took camping trips. We're from a small little town in Rhode Island, man. We never. Our vacations were just literally in town or going to Boston and things like that. But I mean, I'm from a large family. There was no pack the family up and go to a resort. No.
Well, as you're talking, I'm slowly seeing the similarities between clown college and a resort of Club Med. They're very, very similar, which I'm sure you're going to get into. Wow. Okay. So how much did John Shelley tell you about? Okay, maybe you knew what you were going to do, I guess, animator, but what did he tell you about? Well, you got to work 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. Did he tell you anything?
Well, no. When Max was describing it to us, he just said it's pretty much the same things. Like you're living in the resort, you work every day. It's like, well, that's just like the circus, not a big deal. It's like, yeah, you just dress up in costumes. You got to do these little things like entrance to restaurant or passage. I was like, what's that? It's like, oh, you put on a costume and you just run around the resort. Like, It's like, yeah, you just think of some ideas that you want to do, any kind of characters you want to be, like improv. You just go and do that. I'm like, all right. So when I got down there, I just so happens I was replacing a guy named Pat Battistini, who was the animator there, because he was overlapping his contract and was trying to get out of there so he can get down to his next resort. So I basically landed there going, hi, I'm Carlos. He's like, hey, I'm Pat. You're replacing me, and I'm going to give you a quick run through of everything you need to know, like a crash course in animation, and then I'm out of here. So we literally just ran me through for like, I think it was like it's so long. It feels like maybe a week, if that, and then he was gone. And so I'm there with a team of people that knew Pat, loved what Pat was doing, and I was kind of halfway through a resort because everything I kept doing, like, well, Pat did this, Pat did that, funnier. I'm like, hey, look, I don't even know what I'm doing. He just handed me a book of ideas and took off. Like, good luck, kid. And I'm like, and I was freaking out. Like, what have I got myself into?
Were you able to bring any of your numbers from the Ringling Brothers to Club?
Well, some of the skills that I had, I brought some of the things like that with me, which is, juggling and physical comedy and things like that was fine, but it was just more like Pat gave me the book of like, tried and true gags and routines they would do throughout Club Med. It's like, here, this is what someone gave to me.
Can you give me an example of some of the early 1990 gags they were doing?
Well, just some of the crazy characters you could be like, just like, one thing people will do, because at Sandpiper, you had the rafters in the restaurant. It's like, yeah, we dress up as mountain climbers, and you just come on in, put some frosted makeup on your face if you're cold, and bring a flag and a bottle of wine, and just climb along the seats, climb along the tables, climb up into the rafters, and claim the restaurant in the name of France or any country you can think of. Just like, what? He's like, yeah, you can do things like that. I'm like, all right. Or put on a fake snow outfit and cross country ski down the beach as people are just laying out their suntan. I'm like, that's okay. Entrance to restaurants, all the games we would play where we'd have the water ski lessons, where when people would come out of the restaurant, you go, hey, are you guys planning on water skiing today? Well, yes, we actually are. Well, the water ski dock's kind of busy right now. So if you let me, I can give you some water ski lessons right here. Then you let them know that you've already talked to me, and they'll let you just go straight to water skiing without giving you the lesson on the deck, on the dock. Like, oh, okay. So, we hand them the line to hold on to, and have them, sit on the ground and put their knees tucked inside their arms, and I'll pull on the rope and lift them up off the ground and lower them back down. So that's really good. That's really good. Let me get you up a little bit higher. And I have to get them standing all the way up. I would have someone sneak in behind them with a bucket of ice water, and I would just drop them right in the ice water and just take off running. It was like, I was like, we could do that. He's like, oh yeah, it works all the time. So I was like, all right. So it was that. So it was a lot of skits and just practical jokes. I loved it. It was great. It was wonderful.
So after a few weeks, I guess, of acclimating and getting used to it, and I guess talking to other GOs, finding out what countries and exotic locales they visited, were you a little irked you got sent to Sandpiper, or you were just having too much of a good time to care about that?
Actually, no, because what I liked about Sandpiper was it's like it eases you into the Club Med system. You know, it was like it'd be one thing. Like I spent 2 years of my life living on a circus train, traveling the country. All right, so that was kind of a whole different thing from my little town in Tiverton. So to go from that, me dropping on tropical island, I think for me would be a little too much. Like, let me just ease my way and see if I like this. I don't want to be stuck in the middle of I don't know where. So the thing about Sandpiper was nice because you got a feel of it first before you went on to different places till you left the country. Because I had never left. I mean, the furthest I've ever gone out of the country was Canada. When I was in the circus, we crossed the border into Canada to do a show there and back. That was it. So I was kind of I was a little scared to leave the country. I'm like,
You visited Canada and you lived to tell the tale. Nice.
Yes. Oh, that's a whole nother story too. Oh, that's
okay.
That's a different one.
We'll get to that.
but the funny thing about it was when I was down in Sandpiper, dealing with being in the middle of a season where some of the people there had already been with the Animator and they loved Pat. Pat was a very funny guy. And the funny thing is, Pat's here in California and we ran into each other just randomly. And that was a really funny experience as well. But anyway, you're dealing with people going, well, Pat did this funny, or Pat did that. And I'm going, man, they don't like me here. What have I done? I got to get out of here. So I remember going to the payphone. Remember payphones? Yeah, back when there was payphones. And I was calling my dad like, Dad, I don't know what I did. They don't like me here, man. I'm trying this. They keep saying Pat did this and Pat did that. I don't know what to do. My dad was like, you signed a contract? It's like, yeah. So you gave your word. I was like, yeah, Dad. He's like, well, you better stay, and hung up. I'm like, what? So I was like, well, I got to tough it out. So about a week and a half later, things started to flow. I started to get the idea and the gist of how everything worked and fell into the groove of Club Med. I was like, all right, I love this place. Oh, this is great. And then just fell in love with it afterwards.
Did you get days off in the circus? So was the pace of Club Med, pretty easy for you 7 days a week? Well,
on Ringling, you do get days off, but that's only when you travel days. Because you go into town, you set the show up. It depends on what route you're on. If you're on the rodeo route, they call it that because you're either ahead of or following a rodeo. So you're doing small jumps. You're in a town like Biloxi, Mississippi for 3 days. Train rolls in, we break the train apart into different sections, unload everything into the arena, set the arena up, which takes like 8 to 9 hours. You do the show, and then when the show is all over, like the very final show, we tear the entire thing down, which takes about 2.5, 3 hours. Pack the train, get on the train, and take off to the next town. So your days off were your travel days, and usually got a little bit of a day off when you pulled into town. You got a couple hours before we had to set things up. But it was still just a hard grind. We did 550 shows a year, and the shows were 2.5 hours long.
So you were well suited for then Club Med life.
Oh yeah. And like Club Med for me, it was like, you're doing something you love. So the funny thing about it with Club Med wasn't work for me. I was the animator, man. I got to play all day. That's all my job. I just get to play. Yep. Just get to play. This is easy. Playing dress up and playing practical jokes all day long. Love it. So
you're walking around the village and then you see a circus, a trapeze. So what do you do next?
I saw when I first arrived at Sandpiper, for the first couple of days, I was just running around learning what I had to do as an animator. Then one day I walked over to the circus pavilion. I saw Bob Christians there, and I talked to him. I said, hey, I used to be in the circus. I was in Ringling Brothers, and people we may have known and things like that. And because Bob actually was a flying trapeze artist in the circus himself years prior. And from that, he was like, well, what are you here for? I'm like, well, I'm an animator. He's like, well, how you didn't get a circus contract? Like, well, I didn't know you guys had a circus contract, or that wasn't even offered to me. And they said they needed an animator. So he's like, well, we could use you over here at the circus. So I ended up doing a lot more circus stuff and was on a dual there, and also got a dual contract in Ixtapa, where I was just doing animation during the day, and then doing the flying trapeze show because I could do it, and doing circus shows because I had the background to do that.
Okay, can I just ask a question? So did you learn trapeze while you were at Ringling, or did you learn it at Club Med?
No, I had the basic of trapeze just because of an act we were performing at Clown College, but I did full flying trapeze. I learned that at Club Med. True flying trapeze, yes.
So you are the flyer or the catcher?
Well, back then I was about 155 pounds soaking wet. So I flew, but I was strong enough to actually catch as well. But most in Sandpiper, I did a lot of flying. I did mostly the skit. I did the little comedy gag as the animator. I would just come in as a character and interrupt the show and do the knee hang catch and return at the same time. I did that bit. But then during the circus show, we had a casting room, which is basically a miniature flying trapeze. So I did that in there, and we did a mini tramp act and things like that. So
right. So you're doing animator now / circus. So you probably didn't really want to switch jobs at all then, because you were doing two of them, right? Like I'm sure you looked around at, hey, the land sport guy, that looks cool.
Oh no, I was very happy with what I was doing. Yes, I was very happy with what I was doing.
You recall who your chief of village was? Your manager
in Sandpiper at the time? It was Abdel Zouari, was our chef de village, and Howard McCarley was doing his stage in Sandpiper. So we kind of answered to Howard in the mornings, but the true chief was actually Abdel.
Okay, that's right. Okay. Did you get a nickname your first season at all? Did you earn a nickname? Come with it.
I was just a village idiot. That's what was on my name tag. Carlos Ragas, village idiot. That's what I named myself.
So coming from the circus, did you have any kind of culture shock whatsoever from your first time in the resort?
No, not really. Because, in the world of circus, it's a pretty diverse world. I mean, you got people from Poland and South Africa and Bulgaria, Russia, Romania, so to go there and just get the Sandpiper or get the Club Med and go, oh, you guys are from Mexico and France and Jamaica. And all right. So it was pretty wild. So it was an easy transition. For me, the cool thing was just having to learn another language. Like I got semi-fluent in French. Now it's completely gone because I've never had to use it since I left the club, but that was kind of cool.
Did you speak any languages other than English when you got there?
No, as a child, like I'm half Spanish. So as a kid, we spoke Spanish up to a certain point, then we kind of stopped, which made my mom pretty mad. And I took French in high school, but just because I wanted to learn French, because one day I wanted to move to Canada. That's a whole nother story. But I mean, I learned enough French to pass the class, but I never used it when I got into the circus. And then when I got to Club Med, and they said, we do meetings in French, and depending on what the primary language is for the resort you're at, was French and English or French, Spanish, and English when I was in Cancun and Ixtapa. So my French that I learned in high school kind of helped because it was easier for me to get a grasp of French because I had a little bit of a background from school.
Approximately how long were you at Sandpiper your first season? How many months?
I did a full season, full 6 months.
Okay. So you would have left around October, November, I guess, something like that?
Something around there. Yeah. Then I got shipped out to Cancun.
Okay. Did you know you were so did you do shows while you were at Sandpiper at all?
Oh yeah. We did it like every show, like 80 show. We did Paris. We did Flash Cabaret when they used to have that. Yeah. I think I was like, as an animator, you pretty much were in every show every night. You were something like that. You were doing fashion show. You're doing all kinds of stuff.
Did you ever have a passage, an animator passage go awry? Did you try something that someone else suggested it didn't go as well? Like the guest, I don't know, I guess had a bad reaction or was
yeah.
Like not everyone has a good sense of humor. So it's usually like, hey, that's not funny. Or, I was just curious. You had one that got away from you, if you can repeat it, but if you can't repeat it, it's cool, no problem.
I will.
You can tell me after we finish this, and I'll stop the recording, and then you can tell me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how.
Because the feather trick. The feather trick that you tickle people when they're sleeping. Some people don't find that funny.
Oh yeah, slap themselves in the face.
Somebody.
Well, I had someone get mad at me for the water ski lesson.
Even though they were about to get soaked anyway,
but I guess they didn't like the fact that it was ice cold water that they fell into, and then they jumped up, grabbed the thing, and tried chasing after me, but there was no way they're going to catch me. The whole time I'm running, going, hey, you have any friends? We can get them. They stopped, like, got a buddy we can get. Like, great, let's get them. So I had that one, and someone got mad at. They thought they could get me because as an animator, you can see when someone has already knows the bit you're going to do, because a lot of our guests have been here before. They've been to Club Med many times, and I don't know if you remember the gag where he would say, "Hey," outside the entrance to the restaurant, "Hey, would you like to win a bottle of champagne?" "Yeah, what do I got to do?" Just take this ping pong ball and headbutt it. It's got to bounce one time.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Land in a champagne bucket. You get a bottle of champagne for dinner. And so you throw one ping pong ball, two ping pong balls, and you throw the egg. And they headbutt the egg.
Yeah.
Well,
That's a classic. Classic. I love that one. Okay.
I did the first one. I did the second one, and I just saw the look in this guy's eye, and I thought to myself, "Oh, he knows this. He knows this."
Yeah.
All right. So I tossed the egg, and yep, lo and behold, he grabs the egg and he tries to throw it at me. And I happened to have, I don't know what was next. I had something that I was able to put up quickly and block it. Smack! And it's like, ah! I was like, look, man, I'm the animator. I know these bits, man. And I could tell you knew this bit. Come on, man. You can't get me. I get you,
Did you ever do that? My favorite was the old, I don't know if it was a nickel or quarter on the forehead or nose. You had to drop it into a funnel in your pants. I mean, that's my favorite.
I had that one. My favorite one was the plate to your chin.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, give me a letter and think of a letter and a number and just do exactly what I do so we can connect our minds. So I'd grab a plate. Either be a plate in front of you, a plate in front of me, pick up the plate, put the plate to your chin so I can see the bottom of your plate and you can see the bottom of my plate. So you're tapping the plate, you're tapping your forehead, you're tapping the plate, you're tapping your cheek, you're just doing all that stuff. And I come up with something like purple 7. Guy's like, nope, it was blue 14. Ah, man. Okay, here's your drink ticket. Here's a wet wipe. And they're like, thank you. And they walk away. Well, on the bottom of their plate was candle soot. So they just basically rubbing soot all over their face. Yeah. So that was one of my favorites to do. I had a good mishap. Remember the water ski show?
Yes.
That we'd have to do? And as animator, I did this shower ski.
Yep.
Well, in Sandpiper, you got the lagoon with all the gators in there. So you're sitting there, as the skit was, I'm pretty much on natural, but with a gigantic wig covering my frontal area. It's just a big wig sewn onto like a dance belt type G-string thing. Mm-hmm. So you're sitting there in water, just looking around, hoping the gators don't come get you. And then they're like, go, go, go. So they take off and I'm coming up out of the water while the wig was soaked. So it was hanging down by my knees. So I'm holding on with one, and I'm not a great water skier. So I'm on these old rickety skis that's got a scoop on the back, which shoots water up the hose to come out of the shower head. So that's dragging one leg behind you. I've got my wig that's supposed to be up covering me is down by my knees. And I think it was Rupert was running the jet boat. It was either Rupert or Rick, one of them was running the boat, looking back, laughing. So they're going even faster as I'm trying to hold on and grab the wig to cover myself as we're coming around the corner where all the guests are at. I'm like, slow down. And just trying to cover myself. Like, what are you doing? I hated that routine. Well,
that brings me to my next question, because you mentioned water ski. So I was going to ask you if you got to learn any new skills while you were there. So I guess you.
Oh, yeah, I learned how to water ski. I learned to sail the catamarans when we do the rum runs and things like that. Yeah, so
okay,
I learned that. Yeah.
Where did you do the rum runs to?
We would take the catamarans up the Port St. Lucie River. Hang out there, and drink some rum. Okay. And then load the thing up and just race all the way back to the resort and try not to, flip the things over. Just going as fast as you can, get up on one hull and just get a nice little humming sound on the hull of the boat and bring it in and see who won for the day. That was fun.
So considering your circus background, and you mentioned you wanted to go into theater in college, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing that you were pretty much an extroverted guy, and eating meals with guests probably for you 3 times a day was a chance to perform, or you weren't shy at all, right?
No, I wasn't shy at all, because again, it's 2 different things. It's really bizarre. Like if I'm out on stage or out there doing my thing, I'm absolutely fine. I'm okay in front of a crowd doing all that stuff and always entertaining. But normally I try and just keep a low profile. I'm a bit of an introvert in some ways too. If I'm not in front of a crowd, I'm just kind of hanging low and doing my own thing. So it's like, if I'm in my room, nice and quiet, doing whatever. But once you walk out the door in Club Med, it's like showtime. Here we go. And
so, how often did you dance before Club Med? I'm getting to crazy signs. So did you dance a lot, or not at all?
Oh, dance? Oh, yeah. I used to dance all the time. My mother was a singer and dancer in Spain. She was a performer. So all the time she put on music, we'd all dance around the house. We used to have Motown dance parties in our house. So,
well, I'm guessing, but she wasn't doing the duck dance though, right? So how do you feel when you get to the duck dance and you got to do it?
Oh, come on, man. It wasn't bad. Well, again,
it wasn't
as
bad.
Animator. As animator, it was my job to do it. So I'm like, all right, I guess I got to do it. So I didn't mind it. The hard thing was learning all the crazy signs. That was
that is the duck dance is a crazy sign. So I'm saying, like, did you have a favorite or a least favorite?
Well, let's see. Aga-do, I like that one. Aga-do.
You did?
Yeah, I like that.
Aga don't. Okay, next.
Really? You didn't like that one?
No, God, no.
Oh.
Do you like it? Did you like any of that move? Any energetic ones? Because I'm trying to think. Like, I mean, yeah, I didn't start in 1990, but I was just curious. Like, crazy signs of that year. Like, what were they? What were the popular ones of?
What was the? What was this? I'm trying to think of the song. It's completely slipped my mind. What's this song we did?
Yeah, you probably did it like 1,000 times. Right?
Yeah. What is this song? Oh my!
It's got a good beat. I don't know if I can dance to it, Carlos. Okay.
Oh,
it's okay. We'll come back to that one.
I can't think of the song.
We'll come back to
anyway. Sorry about that.
No problem. No problem. Did you have any employees or managers that stood out to you that first season that made a really good impression on you?
Other GOs?
Yeah, it could be a GO, could be a chief of service. Didn't matter. Anyone that you were like wowed by their work ethic. You know,
I would say
got the job done.
I would say my buddy Brian, aka the Edge Iton. He and I, he was the sound. Yeah, well, that was his nickname. He was the Edge.
Why? Because he liked you too, or he was edgy?
No, he just back then he was just always on the edge, man. He's just doing.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay,
he's just always on the edge,
but on the edge in a good way, right? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Not like he had a bad temper or anything. Okay.
No.
Okay,
no.
The edge. Okay, that's pretty cool.
But the funny thing is, like, I think were we crossing over? I think Brian and I, we only worked in Club Med together for three months.
Okay.
If that, yeah, 3 months, and he left. Excuse me. I think he was at the end of his contract, something like that. But the funny thing is, we've been friends for over 30 years.
Wow.
I mean, I've known people I've known, like, you know, I went to school with, things like that. You know, we lost contact, but Brian and I, like, we worked together for like 3 months, became really good, really close friends. He's like, I'm out. I got to go home. I'm kind of done. He had done several seasons prior to Sandpiper, and he was just kind of ready to go on to the next phase of his life. Like, all right, well, see you later. We exchanged numbers, and so he was gone. But you know, Club Med was my Sandpiper was my first resort, and I had plans to go on and on and on. So it was like, thanks, buddy. You know, got your number, you got mine. Yeah, we'll talk. But you just kind of assume as time goes on, maybe we'll talk, maybe we won't. Anyway, after I'd left the Club Med system and I had went back home to Rhode Island and came out to California, Brian was going through some stuff and actually found my number and just on a whim, he decided, hey, I wonder what happened to Carlos. So he gave a call to my parents in Rhode Island saying, hey, is Carlos there? Like, no, he lives in California. He's like, what? So he called my number that my parents had for me in California. He's like, you're in California? I said, yeah. He's like, where are you? He's like, I live in California. I live in Redondo Beach. Like, what? And you know, we went down and met each other, hadn't seen each other like in about a year and a half or so. And you know, rekindled our friendship, and we've been friends for 30 plus years. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did any, sorry, go ahead.
No. So, I mean, I just find it really funny because we had talked about this about a year or so ago. I was like, I can't believe we only worked together for 3 months and yet we've been friends for 30 years.
Well, that's one of those good Club Med stories, you know?
Yeah.
That has a happy ending. Did any celebrities go through there while you were there? I mean, I'm sure you met your share in the circus, but I was just curious if
in Sandpiper.
You met Eddie in Sandpiper.
No, not in Sandpiper.
Okay, we'll get to the other seasons. Do you have any like funny, clean, appropriate stories from your first season, other than the animated passages you told us? Did I don't know, anything happen on an excursion with you? It doesn't have to be funny, I guess.
Oh well, see, the thing is like the weird thing about when I was in Club Med, I never did an excursion.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I was like in Sandpiper. I think a lot of people will try and take off and do things or try and get out of the resort. I think I left the resort twice. Yeah.
Wow.
One time. Howard took the team out for lunch one time, just as a celebration because we had a really long week. It was just a lot of guests coming through, and we're just banging out good shows and whatever it was. So he took us out for lunch one time off the resort, which was pretty wild. And then there used to be there was a mall not too far away from the resort, and I left the resort one time just to pick up some props that I needed. Other than that, I never. And I actually got to go to. I got a trip to Disney World because I did the splits during a show, a dance routine I did with Rosario, which was Abdel's wife.
Wait, intentionally?
Well, yeah.
You can do the splits?
No.
Well, that's what I mean. Did you do them intentionally or unintentionally? Did you do the splits? Okay. And you got a free trip. Do the splits,
but in the dance routine we were doing, at the very end, Rosario would kick up to the splits and drop to the ground. And because I was a partner, I had to do the same thing boom, and then we grab wrists, pull into each other, and embrace. Well, I've been trying. It's like, Rosario, I'm not very flexible. So every time I try and do the split, I guess the regular ones with one leg's in front, one leg's behind you, my crotch was always about a good 8 to 10 inches from the floor. And she was she was very flexible. She was all the way to the ground. Boom. And I kept stretching and trying, like, Rosario, I can't get any lower than this. She's like, you have to. Well, she has a beautiful Italian accent, which I can't do. But she was like, but you have to. It's going to be so beautiful. At the very end of the dance, I kick up and drop. You do the same thing. And then we pull in for the embrace. I'm like,
please say the story. Happy
so
ending. I'm wincing over here. Okay.
So we do this beautiful dance. I'm still, even the night of the show, it's like I'm still way up there. I'm not able. So we do, the thing happens. I lower from the ceiling. We do the beautiful dance, and here comes the very end. She kicks up, drops down. I look at her. I kick up. I drop down and get all the way to the ground. I pulled the garbage out of my groin. I grab her wrist. I pull her in for the big embrace, and I'm squeezing her because I'm in pain. And boom, I hug her. I'm like, oh my goodness, I think I tore my crotch. We embrace, we get up, the whole adrenaline, the energy, take our bow, we walk off. And I was like, whoa. So a couple of days later, she gets me, she's like, I feel so bad. We're going to give you 2 days in Disney World. I'm like, okay, that was worth it. So I got to go to Disney World.
And then you had to do this show every second week, I'm guessing?
Oh, no. I said,
okay. You retired?
I was like, I did that routine once, and I'm not doing that again.
Okay.
So that was it.
All right. So you come to the end of your first season there. So do you have like a dream sheet, or do they ask you where do you like to go next, Carlos?
Yes.
What did you ask for?
I asked for Cancun.
Why?
Because every time you turn on TV in the 80s, it's like, welcome to Cancun. You watched was it the 70s or something like that? It was like Fantasy Island. We're going to Puerto Vallarta or Cancun. You're like, you heard about Cancun, Mexico? Cancun, the place to go. So I saw Cancun and said, I want to go there.
And
that's what I filled out.
Animator?
Yes.
So approximately how long did you spend in Club Med total?
I spent, let's see, I was Sandpiper for 6 months, Cancun for 2 or 3 months. No, less than that.
Well, roughly what, three years in Club Med, or less than 3 years?
About 2.5 years, something like that. Yeah, because when I got to Ixtapa, that's when the Gulf War broke out. And they did a hiring freeze, so no, if you hadn't left to your next resort or left to go home, you were stuck where you were at. Okay. So I think I did like 1.5 years, almost 2 years. Yeah.
Okay, so Cancun, you went to be animator. Did you ever change jobs at all?
No, I never. I went to Cancun for what I thought would be 6 months, but I don't know if I can tell that story. But anyway,
we'll get to that one later.
It wasn't a bad thing, but it was nothing I did wrong. Okay. But from there, I ended up going to Ixtapa, and when I got to Ixtapa, it was interesting. When I went to Ixtapa, I was going as an animator again, and was walking around Ixtapa, and I was going down to I knew they had Circus there, but walked down, and I saw Brent von Rensburg, who was the chief of Circus there.
Wait, and wait, hold up. Can you say that? Can you say that name again?
Brent von Rensburg.
He sounds like a James Bond villain. Is that his real name?
Yeah, his real name. Okay, he's from South Africa.
Cool.
He was from South Africa.
Okay.
And it just so happened, Brent happened to be one of my instructors when I was in clown college. He taught me trampoline and taught me trampoline and Russian swing. So I was walking down, and I look up. I said, Brent, and he looked down and said, Carlos. So he jumps down and runs like, what are you doing here? I was like, I'm the new animator. It's like, no, you're doing Circus. Like, well, I just did that. And the Sandpiper was like, I don't care. So we ran up to Andrea and said, Andrea, I need him in Circus. She's like, we need him as animator. And I was on another duel. I was like, all right, here we go again. So
wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so of all the villages, do you consider one to be a favorite, but more in the terms of magical? I don't know if you ever use that word. Do you think back to say, maybe it was my first one because it was special, or do you not use that word at all? It's so hard. It's so hard to say. Well, I loved Sandpiper because it was a nice ease into the Club Med system. Made a lot of really good friends. I mean, that's where I met Rick at. Rick and I worked together in Club Med. And you met Rick Ross and Sandpiper? Yeah, we used to call him Rick from Mars back then. Rick from Mars. Was he good as a water skier as he always tells me he is, or was he is he sandbagging it? Is he really that good? Because I've never seen him ski. I mean,
I mean, I guess he was, back then when he could ski.
He's a good pool skier, huh?
Oh yeah, he can go from one end of the pool to the other. Oh yeah,
Okay.
he was good at that. That 1 foot up, he got that. No, he was a good skier. He was a really good skier. But no, I enjoyed Sandpiper. It's just like I had great memories in Sandpiper because for me, Sandpiper was kind of going away to summer camp, and we did some pretty wild stuff there. I guess we can say it now because it's been 30 years and they can't bust us for it. We stole the jet ski boat one time. Shh.
Okay. Oh, you mean borrowed, right? Because you brought. it back.
Yes, we bought it. We brought it back. But yeah. That was a fun one. Oh, it was a. Can I tell that story? It's not something bad, nothing horrible.
Well, yeah, as long as you don't name names, yeah.
Okay. Oh no. Yeah, I'll just say clean and appropriate. Okay. Yeah. No, it's completely clean, completely appropriate. But one day we decided, hey, we're gonna go up because if you can go further, we go to the beach. You can get to a beachhead. So a bunch of us, I'm not going to say who, but I was there with some other people. We borrowed the boat and went up and got to the beach, and we, laid our attire down on the beach and jumped in the water to have to swim around and have a blast. It was late. It was at night, so there's no lights on a jet ski boat, on the water ski boat, things like that. So we're splashing around, having a good time. We're like, oh, we better get back before we get caught. So we go back, grab all of our clothes, put them back on, get on the boat, and we start heading back down. Suddenly we realize we're getting kind of itchy. All of our clothes got infested with sand fleas. So now we're itching like crazy, getting eaten alive by these fleas, trying to go down the river quietly because there's no lights on the boat. And if you get caught, that's a lot of trouble you're going to get into. So we're all like scrambling around, itching. We get back to the resort and we got to, take off quietly and race to our rooms and get all these things off and clean ourselves off. And we're all just miserable, eaten alive, like just eaten alive. And then like the next day in meetings, they made an announcement. They know someone had borrowed the boat and it's best, and they know who it is. So it's best that we just come to the office and talk to them now and they'll go easy on it. And they didn't know who got that boat.
Oh, okay.
Because no one showed up. No one confessed.
Sure.
So we got away. We got away with it. But the legend lived on because the next season someone tried it and they sunk the boat.
Ooh, rookies. Okay.
Exactly. We were like pure amateurs. Come on, people. But
okay, so now, and I don't want to talk too much about this because you agreed to come on my other podcast, but after Club Med, you became an actor and a stuntman. True?
True.
Okay, so yes, so Carlos has agreed to come on my other podcast, my pop culture entertainment called the Butcher Bay Rejects, and of course, with GA's permission, I'm going to post a link to that in the XGO Facebook group when we record that. So the story will continue. Carlos is not finished with me. We're going to go in the second half of his career, and he'll talk what it's like to be a stuntman, how he trains for that, and actor. So for this podcast, Carlos, I really want to thank you for sharing your Club Med origin story with us. Did you have a good time?
I had a great time. Now I'm going to make you miss Club Med again.
So do you have any advice?
I just want to know, do you get the same thing like every once in a while in the summertime when the wind blows just the right way and you get like the smell of like, just like, I don't know, suntan lotion, just something like, just the wind blows just right. Just reminds you of that day you were like standing out in the resort and just felt like that warm breeze. You're like, oh yeah, I want to go back really bad. Does that ever happen to you?
Well, no, not in summer. Ironically, it happens every winter when it's minus 40 here in Montreal. I go, oh, what an idiot I am. And then I really, really miss Club Med. Oh,
but
yeah.
you don't get like that flashback, like a smell that brings you right back to like whatever it is, like that's a smell in the resort. Oh
no, but I'll tell you what happens to me. And I know it's happened to Rick too, is I have a dream where I'm locked in a dream for an entire day at Club Med, but I'm not on vacation. I'm working, and somehow I have to leave the village and I forget my passport in my safe. This has never happened to me, and I keep having the same dream over and over again. Do you ever get the dream you're back at Club Med working?
Oh yeah, I've had that before. I had it so real. It was so real that when I got up out of bed, I was literally depressed the entire day.
Yeah.
I got up and I was like, okay, I'm dreaming that I'm at work, but I'm late. I better get up and get to I better get up and get to the restaurant and grab some breakfast before I miss my meeting. And I got up went to go grab my stuff. I was like, looked around my room. I'm like, what am I doing? Where? And I was so disoriented. Like, where am I? I couldn't believe I'm looking around my own house. Like I couldn't remember I'm in my own house. Like, no, this is This isn't my room in Club Med. Oh man.
Yeah. To
I'm
this
home.
day, I still have this dream where I'm back at Club Med working, and I, for some reason, forgot my passport in my safe, and I can't leave. I've never done that. I never forgot my passport yet. I keep dreaming that I forgot it, and I can't leave the village. So maybe I'm doing it on purpose. I don't know.
Oh. Did you now you work Sandpiper, yes?
No, never. I actually always was afraid to get sent there, but then I realized, well, because of, citizenship and all that, I said there was probably no way I'd ever get sent there. But then when I got to visit it on vacation, I thought, oh my God, you guys get to see movies. You have a mall, because I was so used to being on an island with nothing. Right. So,
Ah.
so at the end
Ooh,
there, I did visit it in 2003 for the first time.
I got one quick story. If you got time, one
Yeah,
really
sure.
quick one.
Sure.
Okay, in Sandpiper Bay, a buddy of mine and I, a guy named Tuck, he was the set designer. We had a Bombardier was coming down the Sandpiper to show off their new jet skis, the new watercraft that they had. Big, huge things. So they had representatives and dealers coming from all over the country to come down the Sandpiper to get a look at this brand new, personal watercraft that Bombardier came out with, and so they were doing a pickup at the airport. So my buddy Tuck and I came up with this idea for these two characters named Nick Nevada and Vic Vegas. I was Vic Vegas. He was Nick Nevada. Now, Tuck had this thing where, for some weird reason, the hair on his chest kind of grew in the shape of a heart. So if you kind of penciled it in and used a little mascara, it would be more of a shape of a heart. So we found these gaudy, tight-fitting clothes, shirts. I had a really horrible fake mustache, but I used to have a lot of hair back in the day. Well, Mother Nature took that away from me now, but big, huge chunk of hair on my head. So we go to the airport dressed as these characters. We sneak onto the bus after everyone else gets on, and we act like we were two representatives from Nevada, from Las Vegas, Nevada, here to buy these jet skis. Be one of the reps to purchase jet skis for our shops and stuff like that. We're just talking all kinds of garbage. So, and when we did this with the permission of some representatives from Bombardier, so yeah, we just want to act like we are people interested in buying the things. Like, so he gave us all the information, like how we have to talk about how many units we wanted to buy. Like he gave us all the lingo of what to say and what to do. So we were these two annoying guys from Vegas, just pestering everyone that was all these reps that were coming down here. And people just wanted to kill us. And the guy from Bombardier was just laughing, watching us go around from each table. Like, are we doing it right? Like, yeah. Go say you want a unit of this. So we're just come up with these grandiose numbers and whatever we wanted to buy. Just really annoying people. And like next day, showing up at the pool with these skin tight shorts on, where all these representatives were hanging out, and all the reps were hanging out trying to enjoy themselves. And we were just walking around, just being annoying and just driving people crazy. Later on, these two characters show up at one of the stage shows that night. That's it. Everyone gets a big laugh. Life rolls on. Jump forward about a year and a half later. I'm in Newport, Rhode Island, back home. I'm walking down Newport, Rhode Island with some friends of mine, and some guy walks past me and goes, "Hey, I know you." I was like, "Hey, man, look, you probably got the wrong guy." Because he looked kind of angry. I'm like, "You got the wrong guy, dude. I'm just here with my friends." He's like, no, man, I know you. It's like, "No, I'm nobody. I'm just hanging out." He's like, no. You're Vic Vegas. It's like, "What?" He's like, "You're Vic Vegas, aren't you?" It's like, "Yeah. How would you know that?" He's like, "I was in Sandpiper, man. It's one of the guests today. That was hilarious. The crap you pulled on it. That was so funny." I was like, "Oh my God. You remember that character?" Like, "Oh, it was hilarious. You almost got us. We believed you were going to buy a bunch of units from us. Oh, man, that was hilarious." Like, whew, I thought you were going to kill me, man. But I was just so wild to run into someone that, a character we did, he remembered it. So that was pretty cool.
Well, you got some stories, my friend.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for some good stuntman stories too, and some acting stuff.
Okay. I got a few.
All right.
I can tell you. I can tell you the one that got us in trouble. The passage we did that got us in trouble. Are we off air yet?
No, we're still recording. But if you think it's an appropriate story with no name,
well, it's okay. Well, no names. I mean, it's nothing. Okay. It's nothing horrible.
Okay.
We had a big tennis tournament going on. All right. This one, Pat was teaching me how to do stuff. And there was a big tennis tournament going on at the time for a razor blade company. They also sell shaving cream. I won't say the name. Was there doing a tennis tournament. So Pat and I dressed up. They had all kinds of press and coverage and this, that, and the other. So Pat and I got the stupid idea to dress up as ladies of the evening, full on makeup and skin tight dresses and whatever, just horrible. And we were walking around to everyone, walking up to like, "Hi, how are you?" And you're like, "What the heck is going on?" We'd slip a prophylactic thing and go, "I'm in room 315. I'll call you later." And you're like, "What is going on?" And we just click clack off there, and we're just going around to everyone doing that stuff like that. And we walked away thinking, having a good laugh. And Abdel calls us into his office like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "It was a passage." Like, do you know who that was and what was going on? Like, no, man, it was just good pistache. Like, don't ever do that again. Like, but. So and we looked horrible. We looked horrible. But I blame Pat for that. Because he was teaching me, so I can blame Pat for that one. Anyway.
Okay. Okay, we're going to stop here because I'm sure these stories just go downhill from here. Okay. always check for the Adam's apple, guys. Okay. So everyone, that was Mr. Carlos. But like I said, his story is going to continue on Butcher Bay Rejects. I'll make sure everyone gets to hear that. So Carlos, I want to thank you again for sharing your Club Med story with us. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Hopefully it was useful for you.
It was, sir. It was. We're going to put that up soon. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. That was Mr. Carlos from California, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.